YNAB reports are simultaneously the best part of YNAB and the most underutilized from everything that I see in the online communities. And if you're not regularly looking at your reports and diving into them, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to find ways to save money and hit your goals much faster. So let me jump in and show you how you can use these reports to supercharge your budget. All right, so we jump into YNAB, click over here on the reports tab, and you can see that you've got three main reports: the spending, the net worth, and the income versus expense. And honestly, it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially if you've installed that Toolkit for YNAB extension that we talk about in my Toolkit for YNAB video, and you turn all of the different reports on, and you're gonna have a whole new set of reports that you can dive into. Click on this and see, look at all these other ones. Now, I'm not going to go through every single report, every single detail of every single report. Instead, what I want to do is try and cut through the noise and show you how you can use these reports in the least amount of time and get a ton of value out of them. So with that being said, let me jump into my favorite report, which is if you go to the normal reports, not the toolkit, click on spending, and then come over here and click on trends in this right-hand area. This is going to show your spending trending over time. The nice thing about this screen is that you can look at your total spending by month by hovering over the white dot. You can also hover over each section and realize, oh, I spent $2,077 in fixed expenses in December, or $2,900 towards debt repayment, or $1,300 towards monthly living. You can also come in here and filter things out. So if you have like a really hefty tax bill, or you threw a bunch of money at debt, or got some sort of year-end bonus and you used it on something big, and it's really skewing your reports, you can come in here and then filter out like tax payments or some big one-time expense so that you can get a much better idea of your normal spending month to month and how it's trending. Probably the coolest part of this report is that you can click into the different areas. So if I come in here and click on fund spending, which is this pink one for me, it will go a layer deep and now show my trends for just my fund spending group. Now, you might recognize that these categories, if you go look on your budget, the colors and everything here, the grouping here will perfectly correlate to the way you have your budget structured on this screen. So if I come over here, you can see that I've got my budget structured as debt repayment, fund spending, monthly fixed, monthly living, cash wallet, long-term, giving, unexpected, wealth building, savings on budget, etc. And then the smaller category levels underneath it are what happens when I click into the report on the trending side. So again, if I come over here and click on something like monthly living, now I can see, oh wow, we've got our groceries, and I can compare my groceries month to month. Interesting, 400-ish in October, 500 in November, boom, a ton in December, right? We got Christmas, and then drops off back down to that 400 in January. Okay, now you might be thinking, cool, right? I knew the day was there. Yeah, great. I can see my trending over time, but like, how does that actually impact my life? Well, what I want you to remember is why we do all this budgeting in the first place. The whole purpose of this budget is not to make you hate your life or make you be super frugal or tell you can't do things. The point of the budget is to make sure that you are spending your money on the things that matter the most to you. And so all I want you to do when you're looking at this trend screen is simply look at the trend, see how it's trending over time, and ask yourself one question: am I happy with this? That's it. And when Hannah and I are going through here and looking at how our spending is trending, that's what we're doing. We're looking and saying, oh my gosh, okay, we spent this much money eating out, or this much on our pets, or this much on clothes. Are we happy with that? Is that truly where we want to be spending our money? Yes or no? So back in here to the reports, the next thing I want to show you, the second report I want to show you, is the income versus expense. The reason I want to show you this is that it's basically the exact same report as the trends report, except the hard numbers instead of just the visuals. So if I filter this, let me change it to the same period, all dates. So now you can see basically the exact same information, right? The fund spending, you can see how it breaks down, all the hard numbers. You can look at your averages over time and your totals. So if you're more of a numbers-oriented person, more like spreadsheets and things, you're going to really dig this income versus expense report. You can do all the same filtering in and out of categories that you can do on the other one. But if you're more of a visual person, and you like to see the sort of colors and bars over time and how they change, you're going to really dig this spending trends report. Now, the next report I at least want to briefly mention, or at least, sort of tip my hat to, is this net worth report. YNAB has their own net worth report, which is perfectly fine. I personally prefer the Toolkit net worth report. I just like the visual a little bit better, and I like the way that they have the debts, assets, debt ratio all up here. So that's my personal preference, but the same information is there. If you've got things like your loans and your 401ks and your investments all set up in YNAB as assets, this report will be really interesting to track over time. But if you're a beginner in YNAB, I don't really recommend you setting up all your assets and liabilities at first. I want you to really learn the program before you set all that up. But if you're more confident in YNAB, you've been using it for a while, it's definitely nice to have your assets and liabilities in here so you can watch this change over time. As far as the other Toolkit reports go, they have a spending by category, which is basically the exact same report as YNAB's spending pie chart. The biggest difference is that the Toolkit does give you a percentage in the name, which is pretty nice. I like that. And then the Toolkit also has this spending by payee, which is sort of interesting. You can really get an idea for how much you're truly spending at Amazon, for example. These other reports I'm not really going to get into because I want to save a few more minutes for my absolute favorite way to dig into the YNAB data, which actually isn't a report. But before I do that, what I want to do is actually zoom out away from YNAB for just 1 second and set this up and give you a little bit of context for what you need to do before we dive into my favorite way to look at your data. So I want to share with you how Hannah and I do our sort of life planning in 3-month periods or 3-month sprints, and how that informs the way that we use our budget and we use the reports. For us, this is a 3-step process, and the first step is creating a big life vision. Now, this life vision doesn't have to be this massive sort of 10-page report on everything we're going to do in our whole life. That's not it at all. Instead, this is a simple bullet point style format for some basic things that we would like to accomplish in the next 1, 3, 5, and 10 years. These things roughly fall into the categories of life, our hobbies, our travel, things we want to be doing, our careers or our finances, and our family. Those are sort of the 3 buckets that we play with, and we have a few bullet points for each. Once we have that initial drafted vision, we save that document in an easy-to-find spot, like a shared Google Drive, and once a quarter, when we sit down to really talk about our life and do planning for the next quarter, we pull out that vision doc and basically ask ourselves, has anything on this changed? Do we need to make any tweaks? Or is this still the general direction that we're heading in? Are these the things we want to accomplish? The next step is that we're going to set goals for just this quarter. We're going to hyper focus. So yes, while we might have some things on our vision doc that are 3, 5, and 10 years out, we're going to say, what are 1 or 2 things that we can hyper focus on this quarter, this 3-month period, and we work in a 3-month sprint. These are going to be things like focus paying down on one specific debt, or saving up an emergency fund, or getting 1 full month ahead in YNAB. Or this could be saving up for something specific that you really want, like those kayaks that I keep talking about in all my videos, but never seem to actually get. The basic gist here is that you want to set hyper-specific goals that you can focus on for the next 12 weeks or so and have that drive your general direction. These first 2 steps are so critical before we go back into YNAB, because if we just look at the data in YNAB and we go, yeah, okay, cool, that's how we spend our money. So what? We need to bring a level of, well, here's what I want to do with my life. Here's the vision I have, and here's the goals that I want to be hyper-focused on right now, right this minute. Now we come to our YNAB data and we ask, are we spending our money in a way that's going to help us achieve these goals or keep us from achieving these goals? And that is the 3rd step in this process. So let's jump back into YNAB. Let me show you how to really go through here with a fine-tooth comb. Now, like I said, the way we're going to use this data is actually not in the report section. I actually want you to go back to your budget and just hang out on this screen here. Now, if you watch this channel at all, you know that I'm a huge fan of YNAB goals. It's my belief that you should have goals for pretty much everything. And in fact, YNAB recently did an update adding all of this sort of goal tracking in here, and it really shows that YNAB themselves are placing a much bigger emphasis on the goal feature as well. So like I said, you should have goals for everything. Now remember, what is a goal? A goal is your general game plan. It's your guideline. It's what you say you want to do. If we click into this student loan, for example, you can see that I have a spending goal of $350 per month. if we come down here to our monthly living and click on groceries, you can see that I should have a goal of $450 needed for spending per month. Okay, so that's goals, but how are we going to use this data? Well, if you click on any one of your categories and then come over here to the right and scroll all the way down, under quick budget, you're going to notice this average spent. Now, the average spend is the average spending over the previous 12 months for that category. And if you don't have 12 full months of data, that's fine. It'll just average however many months of data you do have. In this case, you can see that I have a goal of 450, but my average spending is 545. That means I'm consistently spending more than my goal. Now, in your first couple months in YNAB, this is probably not going to be that helpful. I typically tell people to wait until about month 3 before you really start trying to dial in or fine-tune your goals. But once you get 3 months under your belt, now we're starting to get some data that's actually helpful and probably accurate. So what I do every 3 months is I go through my budget, one category at a time. It takes like maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And all I do is I look at, okay, what's my goal? My goal is 350. My average spending is 350. Boom, good to go. Don't need to change anything. But then if I come down here like to fast food and I see, my goal is 100. My average spending is 118. Now I have a critical question to ask. Going back to that vision, going back to my goals, I want to ask myself, am I spending my money on fast food and takeout and Uber Eats and all this stuff? Is that helping me achieve the vision that I have? Or is that holding me back? If it's holding me back, I might actually want to reduce my goal. If it's not, and I'm like, no, actually, like I love convenience, having a convenient part of my eating out as part of what I do, as part of my vision. I want to spend money on things like that. It brings me a lot of value and joy. Great, keep it. Actually, maybe you need to increase it because your average spending is more than what your goal is. The big idea is you should be going through here on a somewhat regular basis and comparing the goals that you set in YNAB to the actual average spending that you're experiencing, and then asking, am I happy with this? Is this helping me achieve that vision and goals that I've set, or is it holding me back? Now, once you've gone through here and really fine-tuned your categories and compared the goals to the actual spending, and you've asked yourself, okay, according to my vision, according to what I'm focused on right now, whether it's the kayaks or paying down a student loan or getting a month ahead, whatever it is my YNAB budget, is it helping me achieve that? Once you've answered all those questions, you have one more task to do, and that is you need to go forward all the way into 1 month ahead of where you've budgeted. So here I am, May 2021. You can tell I have nothing in my budgeted column, and we want to look over here on this right-hand side at the underfunded number. Now, if you've got the toolkit added, you can make sure the feature is turned on for the total monthly goals on the budget screen. This will do the same thing. But the point is, what we want to do is look at, okay, what are my total monthly goals? Now that I've adjusted all of these goals amounts, how much are my goals in total? And you can see in this budget, my total monthly goals are $6,047.12. And that's really important because I better make $6,047.12 at least on a monthly basis. Otherwise, I'm planning to spend more money than I make. And that is a big no-no. So we got to make sure that our goals are less than our income. That's the last critical step here to really using these reports to supercharge your YNAB budget. Now, like I mentioned, if you do want to get any of these other extra features, as well as these cool Toolkit reports, you will want to add this Toolkit for Chrome extension. And you can do that by clicking on this video right here. I'll take you through it, show you how to add it, as well as my favorite features inside the Toolkit. So click there, and I will see you in that video.